We are back. Episode number 4, Game of Inches, Mayflower Sports. Jake and Andrew here talking sports once again. Jake, it feels like we pretty much just started a couple of days ago. We're on episode 4 now, man. Feeling pretty good.
Super excited to be back, man. Look forward to doing this every single week with you. This is the highlight of the week. Love to get to do it every week. Huge week in sports for us coming up. Weekend, sorry. We're going to dive into it, but just know I'm super excited to dive into the UFC again today.
It was awesome having Harry on for our last episode previewing the Wednesday card. Now we're going to preview an awesome Saturday card. So today we're talking NHL, NFL Conference Champions Weekend, and a little bit of baseball action as well. Jay's making some splashes, man. Finally starting to spend some of that Rogers money. So we'll see how that goes. But just a quick note on the podcast. It feels great. Like I said, episode number 4. I feel like we're really falling into a routine. The viewership's been pretty good so far. And for all of you guys listening right now on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we are starting to upload on YouTube now as well. So you can check us out on YouTube and give us a subscription there on YouTube as well. So we're not just sitting on a goose egg of subscribers. Hopefully by our next video, we'll have some more subscribers and followers on that. But let's get right into the NHL. NHL, we're a week in now as we record this episode. Jake, what are your first impressions? What are you liking? What are you not liking? And who are you surprised by so far?
Obviously, we love the Canadian division. I said this last podcast and the podcast before that, and I'm going to say it the podcast after this. Of the Canadian division. I've been hooked on it. Very surprised by the Ottawa Senators. I'm not going to lie. They are one of the more exciting teams to watch. I know they've got a couple leads, but I've been super impressed with that young squad, how they've insulated them around some veterans. And they honestly look pretty good, but I'm going to toss it to you for a second because I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent about the Oilers, and I'm going to need a little bit of time to get upset.
Sounds good. Always down to hear a rant from you, man. But yeah, as far as the Ottawa Senators goes, here's one thing I'll say about them. And I know we've got a few friends that like the Senators team. One is coming on later to talk UFC with us. That'll be fun. But I think it's a lot easier to play games when you have nothing to lose and you're the underdog. And I think that might be an underrated take because it's the start of the season. You'd think that everybody would be in the running to do well. But let's be honest here. Every single person, Jake, had them as their last place team in that division. Let's think about it. I mean, players don't care about division rankings. They don't care about that stuff. But deep in their hearts, they look at that division and how stacked it is. They know they're on a rebuilding team. So when they go ahead and they defeat the Maple Leafs in that first game, you could tell in the first period, they were rolling all their lines. DJ had the boys going, and there was just no pressure with them. They pot a few goals, and all of a sudden it's a competitive ball game, or I guess a hockey game. You know, that's kind of what I see. So you see, we'll see that we're seeing them do pretty good now, man. But once the season progresses and we're like 15, 20 games in, let's see how this young Sens core is looking. That's kind of all I'll say about that. Montreal continues to roll. I have to mention it. Obviously, I'm going to talk about them. Jake Allen. We got to see our first little taste of Jake Allen as the backup goaltender for the Habs, and he looked rock solid. I'd say we have top 3 goalie tandem in the league. I'd probably say Vegas, Boston, and Montreal, not in any order for goaltending tandems, but it's been pretty good. I like the season so far. One thing that I'm really kind of pissed off about is the West Division. It just seems so lopsided. It's the Blues, the Golden Knights, and the Avalanche, and then it's going to be just a mix-up from there, those bottom guys. I mean, the Ducks, the Kings, the Wild, the Coyotes, that's kind of just the bottom tier of that division.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest, man. Colorado might have an easy little cakewalk right to hopefully the Stanley Cup Finals. But no, honestly, Vegas looks super good in that division. I'm pretty scared of them, I'm not going to lie. Like you said, they have solid goaltending, top 2, in my opinion, tandem in the league. Colorado's goaltending is going to be the issue probably throughout this entire season. Franco's obviously hurt, and we know Grubauer is injury prone. And Joe did a lot this offseason to get our team better, adding Saad, adding Devin Toes. Like, there's a lot of things that he did, but the one thing I feel like we didn't address is the goalie. I feel like that might come to bite us in the West Division. You know, when we start to get into that playoff hockey, and, you know, depending on this, like how the standings go, like if we finish second and we have to play the Blues, like that's a tough series. And then if we win that, then we have to go play another tough series. Like Colorado, to me, didn't do enough this offseason, the goaltending wise department, to get us in good enough shape. But besides that, we're rolling, man. The power play looks lethal. Nate looks lethal. Rantanen's ready and already going. Sod scored last night. Like, we're just looking really good, man. And I know you're not a huge fan of the West, and I'm not really either, but if it gives my team an advantage, I'm all for it, buddy.
So my question back to you, though, with that is, what's the expectation right now? Where are we setting the expectation for the Colorado Avalanche as the Cup favorites right now, betting wise? I mean, 4 teams make the playoffs, and then it's 1 against 4, 2 against 3, and the top 2 seeds move forward, obviously. So we're saying how top heavy this division is. What's the expectation?
I think this season we don't necessarily have to win the Cup, but we have to get there. Like, we have a young squad, so it's not a necessity that we win this year and, you know, we need to go win it all. But with the playoff performances we've had, we have Nate, we have Rantanen, we have Landon. Like, we have so many players. We have an extremely deep top 9, like extremely deep, one of the deepest in the league. And our defense is nothing but either young, exciting, great skating defensemen or stay-at-home, rock-solid bodies. To go back to the issue, it's going to come down to goaltending. If Grubauer can stay healthy this year and he can get into a run of form, it's going to be great. But for me, it's either get to the Cup finals or it's a bust.
I guess the more I think about it and the more I say about how that 4th spot is in question, the more I think about it, the more I think about how important that number 1 spot is, right? The number 1 spot in that division will get to play that 4th spot. And it sounds to me, and based on what I've been saying, is that 4th spot is going to be incredibly weaker than whoever that 3rd spot is. You know, it could be the Blues, could be the Vegas Golden Knights in your case if Colorado's leading the way. Vegas is undefeated so far on the season. Kind of important to mention that as well. But we're going to kind of keep things updated every week on the league. Same thing with the NBA. We'll check in with that league as well. But the NBA is kind of a mess right now as far as COVID and knowing who's in the lineup and who is out of the lineup. But we'll get to the NFL Conference Championship weekend is what we'll get into right now. And, you know, Buffalo is a team that you and I have been both high on, although I'm a Packers fan and they're going to play them in the Super Bowl. I'll say it right now. You know, we talked about our reactions already, Jake. So let's get into our predictions and our thoughts on these matchups. I'll throw it to you first. Buccaneers and Packers first game up.
Well, this is a legacy game. Not for Tom. Not for Tom. Tom's legacy is cemented in NFL greatness. Tom is the greatest NFL player probably ever. There ever will be, probably. Unless Patrick Mahomes can win 7 rings or 8 rings, like, there's no real debate there for me. But for Aaron Rodgers, this is everything. Aaron Rodgers has won Super Bowl. That was, 10 years ago? Like, Aaron Rodgers really needs this game against the Buccaneers. And for me, the game's going to come down to which quarterback is able to take advantage of the other team's defense's weakness. So we know that easily Green Bay's run defense can go missing at any point. At any point, that Green Bay run defense can go missing. Same thing with the Buccaneers. Their cornerback coverage also can go very suspect from game to game. It's just, to me, it's going to be who exploits the matchups the best. And for me, it's just going to be Green Bay, like, all the way. Tom and the Buccaneers have done this thing all year where they hit a high point in the season and you're like, they're going to push on, they're going to do it, they're the real deal. And then the following week they let off and they're a huge disappointment. For me, I just have to go with Green Bay. They've been a model of consistency all year. They got that home field advantage. And Tom's first NFC game at Lambeau in the cold, in a playoff game, I think that might play a difference, to be honest. Like, what do you think? I know you're a Green Bay fan, but I think Green Bay has everything to beat the Bucs.
I'm happy you brought up the weather and the fact that it's at Lambeau, because I've heard so many different opinions throughout the week about Brady playing in the cold. You know, obviously he's done so great in the cold before. We've seen what he did for the Patriots. And, you know, a couple people I know that live out in Vegas, they talked about how they moved from a place like Pittsburgh, right, where it's cold, just like here in Halifax, and they moved to Vegas. And everything's warm when you first get there, right? And then when you've been somewhere for so long, even several months, you start to adapt to the temperature there, and then that's kind of your new temperature, and anything below that is cold to you. Like when I went to Vegas last year in December, I was wearing like a t-shirt everywhere I went. Everybody else is wearing their winter jacket. They thought it was cold, but I was chilling. And like that's kind of what I'm wondering here about the Tom Brady angle is he accustomed to the warmth in Tampa Bay, or is it going to be just he's used to it with all his accolades he's had and big games he's won in the cold? And for me, I'm more on the side that I'm not playing a weather factor in this game. I think weather won't be a factor and won't really be an advantage, or at least not for Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady. Maybe as a collective over the team. But look, this is I'm not making excuses here, but because there were chances for both teams, the Buccaneers and the Saints to score in the red zone, but Breeze played horrible, man. Like Breeze did not have a good game, and like we've got so many Patriot fans out of our buddies and in our group chat that are going to sit here and tell us like, yeah, the King Brady's back, he's going to the conference. I don't think it was that exuberant of a win to get there, and the Packers are looking great right now. It's not just Devontae Adams. They've got Tanyan. They've got Alan Lazard playing great. Valdez Scantling. They kind of remind me of that team it's going to be one of those secondary guys that makes the big play. Devontae Adams was great. He had a great game last week, but I feel like those are going to be the biggest guys, like an Alan Lazard late touchdown that gets the job done for them. And that's kind of going to be the biggest difference for me. I do worry about how Tampa Bay is going to be able to control the game on the ground. If they can get their run game going, they might be able to control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, and that kind of worries me. But I think it's Packers all the way. Am I biased? We'll find out. But I think the Packers are the better team here, and I think they deserve to be here. As long as Rodgers doesn't find himself in a hole, because I feel like that's where the problem will come. They'll start getting blitzed, and they're going to know it's coming. The Packers will get the job done. I'm all in on the Packers, and all you Tom Brady huggers, I'm sorry to hear it. He's going down this weekend. Bills and Chiefs.
Sorry, buddy. Just before we move
ahead.
on, I just want to say one last thing about the Packers, buddy. The biggest thing for the Packers, and you said the line of scrimmage battle, is going to be if the two Smiths are able to apply enough pressure with Gary to get after Tom. Because it doesn't matter, how good your defense is. If you're giving Tom time with no pressure, it's not going to matter. Like, dissect you. He's going to pick you apart. You're going to win that game. The big thing, like you said, on both sides of the ball for both teams is going to be dominating the line of scrimmage. Aaron Jones needs to have a huge game for the Packers to win, I think. But he does nothing but lately have huge games. Like, that's just what he does now. And he's going to get paid in the offseason. That dude is going to get paid. But I just wanted to mention that before we moved on, bro, because I think you hit the nail on the head that for the entire game, it's going to be won and lost the line of scrimmage.
100%. And that doesn't mean there's not going to be big plays, through the air, but those little plays are going to be the biggest deciding factor. All right, I think this is the game that we both had the most to say about. It's going to be the best back and forth discussion, the Chiefs and the Bills. I saw something online, Jake. They were actually selling like Bills apparel at like Dick's Sporting Goods. And next to that, they had a bunch of folding tables. So I guess despite yeah, it was like despite the social distancing and all that kind of stuff, they're still selling out a bunch of folding tables. So I thought that was kind of funny to look at. I thought I'd bring that up. But the Bills made it, man. Like here they are. It's conference championship weekend. We saw Josh Allen do his thing in that low scoring game against the Ravens. Patrick Mahomes is down. He's still in concussion protocol. What's the first reaction here? Not just pretend that Mahomes is in this game 100%. What's your reaction? Because for me, I would like the Bills anyway to win this. I wanted to see a Packers and Bills Super Bowl, and that's kind of what I thought would happen anyway. And now we're seeing some question marks with Mahomes. Obviously, that was a really dangerous hit and dangerous play that we saw there. I think that right now, this Bills team is actually a more complete team than the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because, we only saw that one game out of the Chiefs. They obviously had the bye. But the Chiefs defense last playoffs and just the last game, they come up in big moments, right? And so if we're going under the assumption Mahomes is playing and he's not 100%. We've also seen that their run game can be potent come playoff time. They don't show it a lot during the regular season. They like to gunsling it. But we saw on their run last year, Damian Williams literally put the team on his back in the Super Bowl, and he arguably should have been MVP, in my opinion. But the thing is with this game for me is I don't think that the Chiefs with a 75% Mahomes or 80% Mahomes are going to be able to beat the Bills, like you said. To me this year, and I know the example is going to be kind of off because the things are shaped a little different and like how things were going for each team was a little different. But this team reminds me of my Philadelphia Eagles team when it won the Super Bowl. There was just this enormous belief that we could do it. Like, it didn't matter who we played, the game was, what time it was, who was hurt, who wasn't hurt, didn't matter. We're going to go there and we were going to play and we were going to win. And the Bills give me that sort of feeling like it's almost a destiny year, like ours was. That was our first Super Bowl ever. This feels like a Bills destiny moment where this is the David versus Goliath game. I think if the Bills can get past the Chiefs this game, they're going to go win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I mentioned on the episode 2 of the Game of Inches podcast here that the fact is this team still hasn't won by margin, the Chiefs, since I think it was like American Thanksgiving or around that time somewhere against the Jets where they blew them out. Does that mean something to you? It means something to me. I mean, the fact is, I've been saying this about the Bills. They hit you from all angles. We see a Patrick Mahomes that has no problem escaping the pocket. He's almost comfortable escaping the pocket. He likes doing that. If he is playing and if he's healthy, will he be as comfortable to do that? And he can do that, but so can Josh Allen. And Josh Allen's a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if I would say as bigger, but I'd probably use the word tougher because he's able to, go head first and put himself in these situations that, as a fan of the game, I don't want to see a quarterback put themselves in, but it seems like he always just gets up and shakes it off and walks off and he's smiling with Stephon Diggs. And I just feel like they're going to be able to match the Kansas City Chiefs big play after big play. But it's a good point you raise actually about the Kansas City run game, because if they get that run game going and they can make some great plays with Kelsey and Hill, then that's a problem. That's a problem for the Bills. So yeah, that's a problem. So I think you and I are both on the Bills here. It's actually funny, man, because like I know there's only four teams left, but you and I have pretty much been riding the same two teams and been the most confident about both the Packers and the Bills moving forwards. From a betting standpoint, the Bills are +3 right now. I think the best play of the weekend is a teaser with the Bills, teasing them up to 10 on a 7-point teaser, and then teasing that total up or down in the Buccaneers and Packers game.
My guy loves the teasers. What else is new with you, buddy? What else is new? No, the +3 in the Bills, man. Like, to me, the +3, you might as well take the money line if you think they're gonna win. You might as well just juice it. But I mean, I think the game's either going to be a close Bills win or the Chiefs just win. You know what I mean? Like, it has that type of feel to it. Whether Mahomes is back, that's going to be the deciding factor. But not to get away from the betting standpoint, I just want to mention something before we get back into that. Like, the 5-step protocol for Mahomes to get cleared, like, that's actually a really tough process. Like, everybody keeps going under the assumption that, like, he's going to play, and chances are the NFL wants their star boy to play. So, they might turn a blind eye here to this. Maybe he has a minor headache, but that's all right. Like, whatever. We just want him in the game. I'm not joking, but the thing is for me, like, I heard it on a podcast, and they said the point, like, what happens if he goes out and plays and he gets hit and he's concussed again? Like, that, like, drawing up a game plan for Chase Daniels is going to take the entire week. If they just assume Mahomes is ready and he's hurt and he goes out and gets hurt again, that changes the script of the game mid-game. Like, that's a really big thing that I think people are overlooking, is how the Chiefs are going to be able to game plan for the Bills if Mahomes does come back and gets hurt or he doesn't.
And then it's Chad Henne time.
Chad Henne, sorry, not Chase Daniels, sorry. wish my boy was still there.
Yeah, it's gonna be
No,
awesome,
but
man. I hope Mahomes does play like you said, but for the sake of the game and to keep it light and not just hope that someone gets thrown in there, it kind of does suck because, like you said, as much as if you're a Chiefs fan or not, we can chirp all Chiefs fan and say, yeah, he's the pretty boy. He gets protected. The refs make plays and they call stuff in his favor, but it's true. They want him in there.
oh, definitely, man. I don't think that's debatable for any sports league. I think every ref in every league does that. They
Mhm.
favor the superstars. That's league. But to go back to it, like it's gonna be an interesting game, man. Like I don't know exactly like how the game's gonna play out, and I don't know if like the Chiefs are gonna jump out, Bills come back, or vice versa, or however the game's gonna go. I just know we're gonna see like excellent. Like this is gonna be, to me, probably gonna be one of the best games of the year. I don't know about you, but I think this definitely has potential to be one of the games of the year.
Yeah, no, it's funny because you mentioned the fact that you're thinking, as far as the betting perspective, you're not going to take an underdog on the +3. You would take them outright to win. And I definitely agree with that. I think I would say with both of them, even on the favorite or the underdog, to take them outright because I feel like this game will be close up until the last drive of the game. That's really the sense I have from this game. If all works as well as far as health wise, as far as Patrick Mahomes goes, it's not going to be easy. They're going to need to see some star highlight plays out of Diggs and company, but I feel like the Bills can pull it off. I feel like both of you guys or both of us think that as well.
Just before we move on, buddy, I just need to mention one player that hasn't got any love on the Bills, and I feel bad. Edmonds, you are a stud. You flew around, did everything. That is an animal. How did I forget about this guy? This dude was just making plays last week. If the Bills are going to win, they're going to need Edmonds to go out there and make those plays again this week.
All right, man. If he's watching, I hope he gets motivated from that and hopefully he goes
I
on and wins
wish.
that game over the Chiefs. That'd be pretty hype if he was watching, but
Send a check for the name shout out.
definitely. If we're anywhere close to that point in even a couple of years, that'd be pretty hype to give a shout out to an NFL player. But we're going to come right back. Quick little shout out to convenience store near us that we want to promote and want to announce all the great stuff that they have. We're right back talking Jays and, of course, UFC coming up here this Saturday.
Munchie's Convenience is located at 1840 Vernon Street that specializes in exotic snacks and sodas. They are also Atlantic Lottery certified for all of your lotto and gambling needs. Check them out on Instagram at HFX Munchies to see all their stock.
All right, we are back here, Game of Inches podcast, Mayflower Sports, Jake and Andrew. We are Toronto Blue Jays fans. We are from a city where there is no professional baseball team. So, of course, we have your Yankees fans. We have your Red Sox fans. We are talking Jays baseball. George Springer, not Jerry Springer, George Springer signed a 6-year, $150 million contract. Rogers finally opens up the MLS, whatever it is, MLSE. They open up their wallets, Jake, and spend some money. The question is, can this guy get it done without some tapping on some garbage cans for some indicators for their pitches coming at them? And that's really the biggest question. But with all jokes aside, he had a pretty good playoff. He looked pretty good, and we've got our guy, Jake.
Yeah, that's a different debate for a different time about the whole cheating scandal. We're gonna get into this
It
on the
was so
show.
obvious, man. The videos are so obvious.
I know, buddy. But it's all right. We'll get into it another time. We'll stay on George Springer. I don't want to do my guy like that. He just got a huge payday. He's coming to the north, a beautiful city of Toronto. And I'm very excited. I think it changes the lineup a lot. It gives us a more stable top of the lineup. Gurriel can go down to like 6 or 7. I think it does wonders, and it shows that MLSE is to pay the big bucks. Like that's a lot of money, like especially during COVID times where teams are going to have like smaller internal caps. For the Jays to go out and give a commitment like that to a player, that makes me think that they're in a win now mode. Like they believe in the young guys they have, and they want to go out and get it done. To me now, and this talked about a lot in the group chat. We were linked to Brantley today and we didn't get him. But can we go out and can we get a starting pitcher now with this extra money that we're going to have? And like, to me, it's just Bauer. But like, do you think that like that's worth spending money on Springer, or do you think like we should just kind of go with the lineup we have right now because Springer's such a huge ad, and he was worth so much money to bring in.
I know Toronto fans, we always got to be so negative. Social media was so negative right away. Everyone's excited, and you see some people chirping him about Springer, about the whole garbage can thing, and then you start right away. Every single person goes right into our pitching. Well, there's a good batter for us to lead us off and be strong in our batting order, but how about our pitching? How about our bullpen? It's always negativity. It's all you see is negativity from every single sports fan. It's true. You do one great thing as a management, and then people throw that stuff out. So yeah, we do need a pitcher. I don't think we'll get a guy like Bauer. We'll make some good signings. We'll make it work. But I think a point that you touched on, Jake, is the fact that they kind of turned really quickly from a rebuilding club, and anything they did impressed us, to now it's, hey, we've got ourselves a ball team, which is kind of cool to see, because baseball, as we know, is the kind of sport that, rebuilds can take a really, really long time. A really long time. Let's look at the Baltimore Orioles. They've been rebuilding since you and I were 10 years old. Like, this is a team that has, announced a rebuild a couple years ago, and now all of a sudden they're picking up a guy like Springer and getting it done a little bit. So I like them. I like this team this year. A lot of guys that I trust that know quite a bit about baseball, they're liking the pickup with Springer. So they paid for it. They had to pay for it, $150 million. He better do something. That's all I'm going to say. It got me excited for baseball again. Baseball is a long season. We need a little bit of a break from it after it's over, but all of a sudden now seeing this stuff pop up, I'm starting to get excited for it again.
Yeah, it's honestly, baseball gets a little bit of an afterthought, I feel like, until the summer comes around. So it's pretty exciting that in Canada, like, we actually have something to get excited about, like George Springer coming, right? We don't usually land the real big fish as a free agency. So this is kind of a unique one for us. And I think we should, like you said, instead of being negative like I was, maybe we should turn a little bit more of a positive eye and be like, we finally landed a big guy, and this could be a changing of the guard in Toronto, where maybe it'll attract more big free agents.
Up next here on Game of Inches, we are talking UFC, Poirier versus McGregor. The Full Circle Realty team specializes in commercial, residential, and property management by taking a distinctive entrepreneurial approach to help clients and customers find their next investment. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate in 2021, contact the team today at info@fullcirclerealty.ca to learn more. All right, we are back here on the Game of Inches podcast powered by Mayflower Sports. I'm Andrew. He is Jake. And it's time to talk some UFC. McGregor, Poirier. Look, McGregor is back, Jake, but I'll just say this. I've always liked McGregor. I've been somewhat of a casual, recreational UFC fan. I follow it. I love when the guys talk about it. I love when you and Harry and AO and all the boys are talking about it. And I've started to follow it a lot more. But here's one thing I will know. When you see a guy that fought so much, and then now he's kind of pretty much stepped away from it. He had a boxing match against Floyd Mayweather. He came back against the guy in Donald Cerrone that pretty much, let's be honest, that fight shouldn't even have happened. That was a confidence booster fight. Donald got paid by it. That was a joke to me as a sports fan and as a sport lover. I didn't even like to see that. It was kind of sad to watch. It was just like it was almost like McGregor just found some old guy in the street and just started like hitting him with shoulder shots. It didn't really seem fair. And now we're seeing him fight Poirier again. This is the rematch, but is it much of a rematch when the first fight wasn't even close at all either?
Yeah, their first match was such a long time ago in both of their careers. Like, Conor was an ascending star, and Dustin was kind of like, I won't say just getting his feet wet, but he was just getting his feet wet in terms of experience. So I think a lot of things are going to be different, but I think we're probably going to have a similar outcome. All the boys know I'm not the biggest Conor fan, and it's not so much that I don't respect or appreciate what he does in the octagon. I'm not really the biggest fan of like how he goes about stuff, and he kind of like picks his fights and when he wants to fight and where he wants to fight and what like temperature the friggin' arena has to be. Like, I don't really like that when people do that, especially in any type of sport really, but especially like a mixed martial arts sport where you're going to combat with another human being. It's about as raw as it can get.
Yeah.
But in terms of the fight, like Dustin has improved massively since that first fight. Like Dustin's probably one of the best 155ers there is right now. Him and Connor. There's no debating it. Khabib, like Gaethje, like they're all in and around there. Like 155 is so deep right now that like you can't just have a top 3 or a top 2. So for me, the fight comes down to what Connor has been talking about a lot, and it's something that Harry and me have both been talking about, is how Dustin keeps reflecting so much on that first fight. Like he's like, he literally can't get it out of his mind. Like it's something that's been bothering him and he's wanted to avenge this loss. And sometimes that works out really well. And sometimes that doesn't work out really well. Like me and you can both speak from personal examples, like not to get too specific or anything, but like when you have vendetta on your mind, like sometimes you don't think the most clearly and you don't act the most clearly. And that can cost you. Like, to me, McGregor just has to keep playing the cards he's doing, and the fight is going to settle itself in the octagon where Connor has the superior skill to me.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at McGregor right now as he approaches this fight, and I saw in an interview, he said, you know what, Poirier is good. He goes, actually, you know what, I'll call him great, but he's not even nearly close to my level, is what McGregor said. He goes, I'll call him good, I'll call him great, but he's not even close to it. So you mentioned it, these two guys, they fought already, but it was, a while ago, like you said. It was obviously a one-sided fight. And another interesting point about how is he living rent-free inside Poirier's head, and Poirier keeps thinking back to it. It's either going to be a positive thing or a negative thing as he tries to move forwards and get that revenge. We'll bring in our guy, Harry. We're going to have Harry on, Harrison Wright, on a lot of our UFC shows. And here is Harry. We'll get him up on the screen and enter him. Here he is. He's our UFC guy. We had him on to break down the Wednesday card. Harry, we'll talk about a lot of different fights, and you can mention some other fights you do like on this card, but McGregor versus Poirier. We're seeing so many promo videos, so many hype-up videos, but really, is it even something to get that hype about? I mean, the first fight was over before it even started.
It's really exciting to get about because there's only one Conor McGregor. This guy runs the whole show. He's the face of the company. He's the face of all combat sports. And it's rare now that you get to see him compete, and everybody gets excited about the thrill of Conor coming back and Conor being back in the sport for good. Everybody, it excites everybody for the future of him, the now of him. Is he motivated? Is he there? Is he here to fight, or is he here for money? Like, what's his motivation?
Yeah, exactly, buddy. Those are all things that constantly surrounding McGregor. Like those are things that I think even casuals talk about now, is like, is he really in it now? Or like after the Floyd fight, it changed a lot of people's perception about him, about his integrity of the sport, which I don't think you can question. The guy goes there and throws hands for a living. Like he does what he does. But to get into the fight, dude, I am personally excited to see what element Conor's going to bring that's different than his previous fights. I think that's something that Conor does really well sometimes, but he's going to be locked in on that left hand and those leg kicks. Do you think that there's going to be anything different?
I think it's going to be the exact same as what we've seen from Conor through his career. This is a perfect matchup for him. It's tailored to him. He's got a striker in front of him who wants to trade shots, who's kind of orthodox boxing style, throws some kicks, but he's not going to mix it up with the takedowns or on the ground or anything. And it's just tailored to Conor, this matchup, just like the first time around.
Yeah, buddy, definitely. And to get more specific, I meant more like techniques, like, like the last fight, like we saw like the McGregor, he said he was training that shoulder. Like, I don't know how true that is, but like, do you think like, because he knows, like say Dustin's really not going to go for any takedowns, do you think we're going to see more of those like spinning side kicks and those like spinning wheelhouse kicks that we used to see from Conor, like at the beginning of his career?
That's exactly what I was going to say. More spinning attacks. I think we'll see him attack the body a lot more and go headhunting with his kicks too. I think we'll see him go for some flashy stuff to start. Usually has a set plan for the first minute of the fight. His coach, John Kavanagh, usually has something set up for him. As you can see in most of his fights, he comes out with like an attack plan, like ready to go, and he sticks to it, and it sets stuff up for him as the fight goes on. I look for him to come out with the same intensity.
Harry, I wanted to ask you about kind of what I was saying before about when he returned to fight Donald. A lot of people said it was kind of just a going out party, a time for Donald to get paid. But it kind of reminded me of, sometimes when a fighter comes back to fight, you definitely want to give them the easier look. And I'm not saying Donald is not good, but he's not on the level of McGregor. So what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? And then how long it took him to get back in the octagon again?
I think there's two sides to the argument, because I know half the fan base is upset. Oh, he's coming back and he's fighting Cowboy. That's an easy matchup. But then if you throw him in for a title fight against the best guy in the world, the other half of the fans are going to be like, oh, this guy doesn't deserve this matchup. Why does he get all the top guys when he hasn't been active? So it's kind of like you get what you get. And he got Cowboy, and Cowboy got his red panty night.
And just to continue on that, buddy, I know I've had I know some of the boys, and I'm not going to say you guys are casuals because you think this, because I know a lot of hardcore people that do think that was a tailor-made fight for Conor. It was an easy fight. It was like, taking Donald to the old age home. But for me, like, Donald's a seasoned vet, and, the skill level might not have been there, but Donald's done so much for that company that he almost deserved that fight, whether he was going to get his ass kicked or not. Like, that was, to me, like, that was always irrelevant. Like, that was always beside the point. The point was that the UFC finally rewarded someone like Donald, who's always been a company man, by possibly putting him in the position to make the most money he's ever made in a fight. And I feel like I feel like that's super important that people overlook that, because he did go get starched. Like, it is what it is. He got beat up by a shoulder.
And it shouldn't have ended that way either, Jake. It shouldn't have ended. It could have gone a lot longer. It was one or two touches that McGregor got on him that ended the fight. I'm not trying to discredit him, but the way the fight resulted, I think it could have gone longer. Don't get me wrong, but just the way it appears, and I'm not trying to be a negative guy either, but just when I'm bringing in Harry, everyone's getting excited about this fight. It's so interesting to me in UFC again, I'll use the word casual, but I'm getting more into it. How can somebody it's kind of like in basketball. If we were getting super excited about a basketball game between two teams and the last meeting was a 20-point blowout, right? What's the difference here?
To me, I guess, and I'll throw it to Harry after this, but I'll just give my point. I guess the difference is when, if you get blown out by 20 or 30 points in basketball, or you lose 6-1 in hockey or soccer, or you lose 38-0 in football, that usually means one team probably played really, really well and one team played really, really bad. In combat sports, like, I could be dominating that fight for the first minute and 3 seconds later, my head hits the canvas and I'm looking at the ceiling.
Anything can happen. Yeah.
Anything can happen, right? So it's the thrill of seeing, like, the unexpected. So UFC fans, I find, don't look at like, that sucks. That fight was over in 45 seconds. It's like, holy crap, like, that dude literally just got knocked out in 45 seconds. Yeah. Like, what do you think, Harry?
It's also respecting greatness. There's only so many times you get to see this guy perform. There's only so many times he's going to fight, and he's fighting who he's fighting. He's fighting the best guys in the world. Dustin Poirier is easily a top 3 lightweight in the world. There's no question about it. I mean, he's Justin Gaethje. Everybody likes to suck off Justin Gaethje. I mean, Dustin Poirier finished Justin Gaethje. Nobody talks about that.
Definitely.
I mean, Dustin Poirier beat Eddie Alvarez, finished him, a guy that Conor beat for the belt. He beat Max Holloway, a guy that Conor also beat. Like, Dustin Poirier is a legit fighter, top-tier fighter in the UFC, top 10 pound-for-pound guy in mixed martial arts, and he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. So I think it's more that everybody just discredits Conor's greatness and doesn't want to, like, he's just a mismatch for everybody except for probably Khabib at 155.
Jake, my dude, talking about someone getting sucked off, someone getting finished off. Man, YouTube might flag this video on us if we keep talking like that. I'm telling you, man.
Just before we move on, buddy. Sorry, I was gonna say, just before we move on, I actually had a question for Harry, and I know this is something that me and Harry do, like, inside the group chat, outside the group chat with just me and him. We love to play matchmaker. We love to do that. Like, I'd say that's mine and Harry's thing, especially. We love to go back and forth about, well, if this guy wins or this guy wins, like, give me who you think. So we'll do two sides of the coin, because you don't want to just assume McGregor's going to win. But if Conor does win, what do you think's next for him after that? And then same thing for Dustin. If he wins, what do you think's after that in terms of matchmaking?
Well, I'll start with Conor. I personally don't see Khabib competing in 2021. I think he comes back at some point for a last fight. I just don't see it happening soon. I think he's rather invested in his new promotion that he has, Eagle Fighting Championship. And with his, he has cousins that are fighting in the UFC and preparing, and he's a big part of their camps and helping them out since his father's passed, since he was their head coach also. He's kind of taken that role upon himself. So I don't see him coming back anytime soon personally. But I think the Holloway fight's right there. The Holloway rematch is there at 155 for the belt. There's no true number one contender that's going to sell 2 million pay-per-views like Holloway versus McGregor 2 would. And Holloway's got to wait 6 to 8 months for that fight at 145 for the belt, with Volkanovski fighting Ortega in a few months. So he's probably not going to want to be on the sidelines for that long anyways. So I think that's definitely the fight to make if Conor wins and Khabib stays retired. And for Dustin, if he wins, it shakes up everything, because then he's automatically in there for the title fight, no doubt. And it's probably Justin Gaethje rematch then for Dustin Poirier if he wins. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting because, like you said, Max, and that's not somebody I've really thought about, to be honest, about Max going back up to 155, because we saw kind of what happened the last time, right? He didn't look like he really belonged there. Not saying that he doesn't belong there, but he, like, again, power puncher at 155, it looked a lot different than a power puncher at 145 like Kelvin Kattar. Like, it looks and feels probably a lot different. But I do like that shout. It would be interesting to see Max go up against either one of those guys, because he's lost to both of them. Yeah. Realistically, I think if Dustin wins, you are right. We're probably not going to see Max go up, because they'd have that angle at Gaethje and Poirier too. Yeah. So I definitely like that shout. And I do like the Holloway shout for McGregor. One guy I feel like we're missing out on, I know he's brand new, but if Michael Chandler gets, a quick win, and then he goes in and fights again and gets another quick win, like, I think that catapults him. And I'm not saying he's going to do anything at that division. I'm not saying he's going to be anything special, but I think just the way he fights, that he could steal a win or two to start his career and get that kind of like Conor catapult where you're just up fighting for the belt in like 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a Michael Chandler hater, but I'm not going to say a good word about that guy until he beats somebody.
I'm not trying to be a hater, but I'm not going to say one nice thing about this guy.
Let's get into it, though, Harry. Let's get into it. Is it because... Sorry,
we're hyping up a guy whose his best wins are against Benson Henderson, who was the champ like 10 years ago in the UFC. Like, this guy hasn't beat anybody. He beat Eddie Alvarez like 10 years ago. Like, recently, he hasn't really done much. Yeah, he looks like he has good skill set and stuff, but I mean, we haven't seen him against anybody of relevance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it because he fought in Bellator that you're not really high on him? And I get that it's an inferior competition, like anywhere. And we all know, like, especially the hardcore, is that when you're a champion or an extremely successful fighter in another promotion and you come over to the UFC, like, you're going to get thrown to the wolves. Like, you're going to get put through the ringer, and they're going to see what you're made of. And I think that could help Chandler if he does steal a win or two. And Dana's like, shit, like, we gave him 2 tough guys and he's prevailed, and we don't know what's going on with Khabib. And, by then Poirier and Gaethje could fight. Like, that could be Poirier's next fight. But I think that Chandler, if he has a couple performances, he could be right in that mix next.
That's another thing about Dana. I could see Dana pushing for Chandler up really quick just because of how much he hates Scott Coker and how much he'd want to see Chandler become a huge star in the UFC after he did nothing in Bellator in terms of star power.
I got to paint a picture for you guys real quick, and this question is for both you guys, not just Harry. If you're at any sports book right now, a casino, they give you -110 on both sides here. Someone hands you $500 right now to say yes or no. Is Khabib going to be fighting again in the UFC? Which side are you betting? Yes or no?
I thought you were Go ahead, Harry. Go ahead.
I'd go with no myself. I'll go with no.
I thought you were definitely going, if there was even money on Conor and Dustin, who would you pick? And I was going to say, that's not even, I know, but I was just going to say, oh my goodness, I would take that $500 and I would run to the sports book. No, but in all honesty, it's going to be tough, right? Because Khabib's really, I think, affected by the loss of his dad. And I think he does want to be a part of that like what his dad was doing, the training aspect, like breeding fighters, like breeding people from his homeland that can go and be global superstars like he is. And I feel like right now might not be the best time for him to come back just because of how everything's going for him. And, his cousin just fought in the UFC. It looked pretty good. So there's a lot of things that are going on for him right now. And I would personally put my money on no, but I wouldn't definitively say no. Like if Conor wins in dramatic fashion, let's say he gets to fight Holloway or Gaethje or whoever, and he kicks their ass too, like you best believe Khabib's coming out of retirement and he's going to mess up Conor.
Yeah, just to make that statement. And that's kind of the reason I was going to mention it, is because what reason right now does Khabib have? And I always hate, no matter what sport it is, but obviously this happens the most in boxing and UFC, when guys are retired 1 minute and all of a sudden they're back again. That's usually something that's kind of bothersome for me, because it happens all the time. Like whenever people retire, I'm just like, I don't know. Are they actually retired? Are they retired or not? So, but I think he actually is for now, unless something really, really crazy happens. We'll get your final thoughts, Harry, on this UFC 257. Maybe your prediction for this fight, and any other thoughts on some other fights.
Give us a bet too, buddy.
Prediction for the big fight, I'll go with Conor round 2 TKO. I think he owns a penthouse up in Dustin's head. I think the whole narrative going into this fight is how Conor was in Dustin's head the first fight, and how that's why Dustin lost. And Conor's kind of feeding into it going into this fight, saying, "Oh, Dustin's great. Dustin's this. He's a different guy." Dustin, he's leading Dustin into the butcher shop as he prepares to cut his head off. So I think Conor gets it done within 2 rounds. And the other big fight, the Chandler Hooker fight. Everybody wants to know what Chandler has. Everybody knows what Hooker is. Hooker's a bona fide top 10 guy in the division. And I like for a bet, I like the over in 2.5 rounds in that one. I think it goes to decision.
Nice.
What do you think, Jake?
Yeah,
any closing thoughts from you?
Honestly, I probably take Conor by TKO or submission. I know it's probably paying very much right now, but to me, I don't think that. Honestly, you could even take the fight to not go the distance. Like that's also a really good one too. I don't think that Conor is going to survive if it goes to rounds 4 and 5, but Dustin could also get starched in round 1 or 2. I don't think that fight makes it to decision, but in the Hooker Chandler fight, I'm with Harry on the over 2.5. I think Hooker's going to be able to land some damage on Chandler. Don't think this is going to be an easy fight for Chandler, but Chandler has that knockout power and he has that elite wrestling. And I feel like he's probably taking advantage of that against Hooker.
And Chandler's wrestling is going to play a factor. I think he's going to play it safe this fight. I think we're going to see him try and grapple early and often. I think we're going to see him try and just win the rounds and get through this fight because of all the hype around him. But Hooker's not going to get subbed. Hooker's like a legit guy everywhere the fight goes. So it should be interesting.
From a betting standpoint, I'll just throw it out there and say this. We talk about how easy it is to lay juice with UFC. You can take a -180 and think there's good value. Every single bet I make leading up to Saturday, no matter what it is, if it's a couple days before, it's Thursday night, it's Friday night, whatever it is, I'm parlaying that 2-teamer with Conor McGregor. That's what I'm doing. I'm turning my -110 bet into a little bit of a better bet here and taking McGregor ride or die. We'll get you out of here, Harry. Any more thoughts you wanted to mention real quick?
Did you get your proper 12 yet for the fight night then? Since you're going to be all over McGregor?
Maybe I will. I haven't even tried it yet. Have you tried it, Jake?
Yes, sir. You can find that at your local NSLC.
And you can find Jake there as well. Maybe we shouldn't put that. We'll have to cut that part out real quick. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching here and listening to the Game of Inches episode number 4, powered by Mayflower Sports. For Jake, for Harry, I'm Andrew. Our guy Luke, the producer. We'll see you guys for episode 5, Game of Inches.